Okay, we're live. Good afternoon, everybody. A very warm welcome to you all. We are starting this webinar on the work program 26-27 in the digital industry and space realm. Together with me here in the studio, my name is Christian Holstein from the Danish Agency for Science. I have Matthias and Cecilia, my colleagues, who are also very much involved in this work program. Also, we have, as a special guest, also later in the session, a visit from one of our national experts, Peter Gorm Larsen, joining us from Aarhus. But let's get into it. And so to start off, a few housekeeping rules. We are recording as we speak the webinar. Please use the Q&A function to ask questions, or if you have technical issues or comments, please use the chat. But since we have a lot of ground to cover, we have 6 points and 60 minutes to do so, which is probably going to be a bit hard. We are going to look at this session as kind of an appetizer because we are popularly speaking, covering the tiniest microscopic nanoparticles and all the way to the infinity of space, which Cecilia is covering, and in between, in the middle, we have coal and steel also. But so this is an appetizer, of course, for a broader look into it afterwards with Cecilia and Matthias and myself, and possibly also Peter. We have welcome and introduction. We are going through the digital, also the horizontal program when relevant. Both me and Matthias will come into that also. And then we have the space. And as I said, as a special guest, Peter Gorm Larsen will teach us a little about the lessons learned from EU projects. And then we have some time for Q&A. Yes. Diving straight into it, just to place the funding opportunities in digital industry and space here in the middle of the global challenges and European industrial competitiveness pillar, which is around 60% of the total budget. We have 15.3 billion. We'll talk a little about what is actually in the work program, what is outside of the work program. As you can see in the total column, we have the 15.3 there, but the cluster work program is covering a little above 10 of that. And that is also because we have a lot of activities going on outside of the actual cluster 4 work program that we are covering today. So a lot of other opportunities are outside of that. Especially, I would say the CHIPS joint undertaking, 2.2 billion, you see below. The Euro high performance computing also with 1 billion, and the smart networks and services, they have their own work programs and also covering 4.2 billion euros. Also, we have a slight contribution also to the missions, of course, slightly increasing also. So that is what we are covering today. How is it going so far? Quite okay with this slide that Matthias prepared, 256 Danish participants. And of special note, I would say that more than 40%, a little above 40% of those are actually Danish private companies. So there are also some opportunities in there for that. So, but looking at the overall work program, we have 5 chapters, 5 destinations, 340 pages containing 80 topics. And topics is where the money is at in the next 2 years, in 26-27. And also, as a specialty, there's also a lot of money in the other actions in the below section of in the last parts of the work program, covering more than 2/3 of the budget in space actions, and Cecilie will, of course, talk a little about that. Slightly less budget in total, 2.2 billion euro than we're used to in a 2-year program, but also we have 350 million euro in the horizontal program that we will cover also today. It is a continuation of the very much focus on the strategic autonomy, and of course also a continuation on the fight for a green and digital transition. That is the overall target for this work program. On a more specific level, we have slightly less topics this time than we normally have in a 2-year program, and that is because they are slightly bigger, and also what the Commission is saying, that they are slightly more open to, so less prescriptive, slightly more open to approaches, methodologies through wider topics in scope. We have, and that is a fact, more joint topics between partnerships, and we have also more focus on path to deployment in the business and exploitation strategies, and also in the section in the clean industrial deal, in the horizontal, and also in the fast track to innovation parts of this work program. Looking out for the EU strategic interests, we are still doing that very much so. Chinese partners not eligible, both in research and innovation actions, also in innovation actions. When we started out Horizon Europe, it was only innovation actions, but now it's also RIAs. So take note of that. Definitely a lot of some more parts are included in that Article 22.5 regulation, where we are limiting participation, and that is the raw materials, AI, telecom topics, and space, and of course also the quantum parts of the work program. Some of the other overarching points, the lump sum funding is continuing, still only when a project budget is not above 10 million. We have a link to the lump sum page also for some guidance on that. Business cases, exploitation strategy, a little more focus on that, and some of the things that we have previously been quite successful with is the social science humanities, getting them in there when they are relevant. We have had ammunition from the reference group that we talked to, of course, but we haven't had much luck, so only a few topics where this is flagged as especially relevant. Cascade funding also in there in topics, and we also have a few 2-stage topics also. So take note of that, of course, because you need to be in the first round to get into the second round, of course. A lot of what kind of shapes the work program is the deliberation, ongoing deliberation with the 9 co-programmed partnerships that we have now in the work program. We have, and they are based on the discussions on a strategic research and innovation agenda. We have, as I said now, 9 co-programmed partnerships that put into or try to get into the work program in different with different topics, and we say yes to them in program committee, or we say also no to them sometimes according to the urgency of the topic in itself. But the 4 new ones, what we call the second wave, are the innovative advanced materials for EU, the textiles for the future, a smaller one, and we have the virtual worlds partnership also recently opened, and we also have the global competitive space systems, which so these are the 4 newcomers. And but the topics are in the work program. You don't need to become members of the association or anything to propose or to be part of the consortium. So they are part of this work program. That is a different matter with the institutionalized joint undertakings, the institutionalized partnerships. And as I said before, they are getting a part of the overall budget for the digital industry and space cluster. And that is, of course, as I said, the CHIPS joint undertaking, taking a good chunk of that with 2.2 billion euro, smart networks and services, also, and high performance computing, Euro HPC. And also, we just wanted to say to you that there's been an amendment of the Euro HPC regulation that was concluded in the Competitiveness Council on the 8th of December, that will support the establishment of AI gigafactories across the continent, and also strengthen the efforts on quantum. So Euro HPC will be a center for a lot of that in the coming 2 years, and then we'll find out how will the structure be in the new Horizon Europe, of course. But they also each have their own dedicated work programs with topics. So if that is your thing, then there's also opportunities in there, of course. Diving into the digital part, we have a digital, we have an industry part, we have a space part. They are divided into 3 chapters, the digital part: the secure single market, infrastructure, data service, AI services, and what we call Destination 3. And then an open strategic autonomy in digital and emerging enabling technologies, a quite large chapter where a lot of things are going on also. And then in Destination 4, and then we have a smaller one in Destination 6 on digital and industrial technologies driving human-centric innovation. So that are the 3 digital chapters to this work program, and that is a continuation of previous also. The key policy drivers for this quest, this competition that we have also with the different competitors, global competitors, is of course based on this on the Draghi and the Hayter and the Letter report, of course, but also on the response, the Commission response to those in the European Economic Security Strategy, in the Competitiveness Compass as an overall, 2 overall key policy drivers. And looking slightly more specific is the AI Continent Action Plan, which came out, which is the overall AI plan. And then we had in October the AI and Science Strategy, the Apply AI Strategy, which are one for science and one to get it out in the industries, the Apply AI Strategy, which we also have in this work program. We have the Data Union Strategy and Common European Data Spaces as political drivers for this quest for strategic autonomy. The calls in themselves, there are 4 calls and 2 deadlines. So we're looking at a spring deadline, 2 spring deadlines, one for 2026 and one for 2027. For the digital part, Matthias will come back, of course, with the industry, and Cecilie will come back with the space part of that also. This is the overall look at what are the digital topics. We are looking at 32 different topics, slightly larger maybe than usual. And the areas, I've put in the areas here. 3 topics on Telco Edge Cloud Continuum and the Open Internet Stack, achieving the end-to-end AI compute continuum, also 2 topics. Data, only 1 topic in there. And then the overarching AI continent is an area now with taking 10 topics. Quantum is also, of course, one of the key strategic battlefields, so to speak, in the competitiveness battle. And even though we only have 3 topics now, there are also in the other actions that we mentioned earlier, 6 specific grant agreements, so a continuation of the framework program agreements. And we also have 128 million euros dedicated to quantum top-up that is administered by the European Investment Bank. So a lot of things are, of course, also going on in the quantum sector. Photonics, 2 topics, and semiconductors, it's 1 topic. It's a coordination and support action, only a smaller one. And of course, when it comes to semiconductors, that is the CHIPS joint undertaking, their specific work program we are talking about there. So of course, all the semiconductor topics are in there. An area called Other Emerging Tech, which is 2D materials and also a foresight study on digital technology. So that's also CSAs. And then we have AI for manufacturing energy-intensive industries that are also covered in what Mathias is going to talk about in the industry course. We have the Virtual Worlds partnership with 4 topics and a topic on digital standardization also here. So overall, AI is a very strong component to this digital part of the work program with around 15 out of the 32 topics that we are talking about in this section of this webinar. What is also relevant and which is also artificial intelligence related is the horizontal activities. I think we are number 7. The work program for digital industry space is number 7 in the main work program, but we have in number 14 the horizontal activities. And I'm going to just use 1 minute to talk about the resource for AI science in Europe. And that is 100 million for new topics, 5 new topics that will look at this intersection between AI and science in itself. So very interesting. Also in there, we also have a collaboration with Marie Curie on the RAISE doctoral networks for AI and science, where people that apply for a RAISE for MSCA doctoral networks can also get some funding for here. The deadlines 2026 April, also a spring call, and then we have the RAISE doctoral networks on 24th of November. Yes, and I think that concludes my part of it. And Mathias, yes, thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Christian, for presenting the digital part of the work program. We will now switch to the industry part. So the industry part is actually pooled into a single destination now here in 26 and 27. It was previously 2 different destinations, but now in this work program, we have 1 destination called Leadership in Materials and Production for Europe. So if we look at this destination, there's very, very much one overarching goal, which is a unified research and innovation agenda to strengthen Europe's industrial competitiveness by advancing certain key areas such as advanced materials, sustainable chemicals, critical raw materials, and the circular and digitalized production, where we already have the sort of the bridge from the digital part that Christian just presented. So we can see already like quite a lot of these initiatives, of course, coming from the competitive compass from the European Commission. The overall budget we are looking at in these calls and then in the topics it's at 759 million euros. So yeah, also quite a substantial amount of funding left here for 26 and 27. The destination is spread out through several topics. It's actually 5 calls. Excuse me for the typo here. So 5 calls and the following topics. So it's 10 innovation actions, 13 research and innovation actions, and 9 coordination and support actions that we have spread out through 5 calls. With regards to the opening and deadlines in this destination, we are actually looking at the first calls opening quite soon. They are opening on the 6th of January, so just after the New Year's Eve, so to say, and then looking at the first deadline at the 21st of April. With regards to the 2-stage calls, they're already opening, now here, tomorrow actually. And then we're having the first stage deadline on the 17th of March, followed by a second stage deadline on the 13th of October. For those calls in the 27 part of the work program, we are looking at an opening on the 22nd of September and the deadline on the 2nd of February 27. With regards to the 2-stage calls, we're looking at an opening on the 22nd of September 2026, and then the deadline for the first stage of the proposal on the 2nd of February 2027, and the final stage, the second stage, on the 22nd, on the 2nd of September 27. So yeah, what is this destination all about? This destination, the core purpose of it is, as in the digital part, to support the twin green and digital transition of Europe, and through research and innovation. So it's about also increasingly, perhaps in this 26-27 work program, on the reduction of Europe's strategic dependencies in key value chains, but also about enabling a clean, safe, and sustainable industrial production. And finally, it's really about boosting the industrial resilience, sovereignty, and competitiveness of Europe. So if we look to the key policy drivers, these things, of course, are also mirrored in these policy documents. We clearly have the competitiveness compass, which is also closely related to the Clean Industrial Deal. So how to decarbonize Europe's industrial base, but also the Critical Raw Materials Act, and then upcoming acts on advanced materials and circular economy, but also previous action plans on steel and metal and automotive sectors. And also, since there's quite a bit, also some coordination and support actions on technology infrastructure in this destination. It's also very interesting, perhaps, to look at the recent strategy on research and the technology infrastructures. So these key policy drivers are also actually very relevant to have in mind and to consider when preparing proposals for the calls. So now I will briefly present how the different actions are spread out through the work program. So we have 10 innovation actions. These are particularly looking at sustainable or advanced materials, raw materials, and chemicals. So you had Christian presenting the different partnerships earlier, and those topics, those innovation actions, have a relation to the IM4EU partnership. This is the Innovative Advanced Materials for Europe partnership, and also the Made in Europe partnerships. And then there's an innovation action also coming from the Textiles for the Future partnership. So this is an innovation action primarily focused on textile circularity. And then finally, innovation actions that are more related to the technology infrastructure and valorization field. Now looking at the research and innovation actions, there's 13 research and innovation actions in total. And those are research and innovation actions on raw materials, on fast tracking and circularity, and also in research and innovation actions tied to the Processes for Planet partnership on carbon capture and clean energy, as well as several research and innovation actions that actually bridge to the digital destinations in the work program on AI and production processes. So yeah, these are linking up to the Processes for Planet partnership and also the AI data and robotics partnership. So if you look for those topics in the work program, you'll find them actually with a digital immersion code, which is actually the code used for the digital part of the work program. However, they're actually included in the industry work program, in the industry part of the work program. So that is just good to have in mind. There's also plenty of coordination and support actions, 9 in total in this part of the 26-27 work program. For instance, coordination and support action on cooperation with Japan, on several on industry academia knowledge exchange, on raw materials, but also one on technology, several on technology infrastructures. And overall, looking back at these different topics, it's of course important to say that they really vary in size and also in how many topics or how many projects there are funded under a single topic. So it's good to have a look at the work program here. Finally, just as Christian did with the RACE initiative, the Resource for AI in Science, I also want to mention the horizontal work program. So this is a separate work program, not the Cluster 4 work program, but it has two calls in support of the Clean Industrial Deal, which are directly related to the industry part of Cluster 4. So there's one call in 26 and another one in 27 in support of the Clean Industrial Deal on decarbonization of energy-intensive industries. So linking to the Processes for Planet and the Clean Steel partnerships. So yeah, these are actually huge calls with 2 times 125 million euros and 15 to 25 million euros expected EU contribution per project, with the main aim of developing a new generation of demonstrators in clean tech and decarbonized industry that combine technological excellence with market readiness. There's also another more Cluster 5 related action from this Clean Industrial Deal support topics that will be presented in the webinar, which is just following our webinar here today. Well, but that was it from the industry part of the work program, and my colleague Cecilia will introduce the space part now.
Yes, and I need to pull down the table a little bit. Hi, everyone. The destination space is going to support the EU space program as it has been tabled for this within this MMF. It's going to support the Earth observation, Galileo, the satellite navigation and positioning system, and space situational awareness, and GovSatcom, so secure communications. And I put also IRIS², a new element in the space program that will all be included. We assume in the next MMF of the space program. And space is, of course, very much related to or serving also European autonomy and competitiveness and resilience. So there's a lot of focus on that. So if you have looked into the space destination previously, you will find once again these headings. It's about accessing space and the space partnership. Something more focus this time is the IRIS² program that I mentioned before. And something very new is a special heading on the Space Act. It's just a small topic, but at least it's signaling that we are now treating the Space Act. It's under consultation these days and under the Danish presidency, which is here right now. So there is one small budget for this. But otherwise, the headings are very much as they were before. As you can see, about half of the headings have open calls, whereas the others are under what we call other actions. And this is what the budget looks like. So 1/3 of the budget is put under open calls, and 2/3 of the budget is under other actions. In total, as it looks right now, the budget is 561 million euro over 2 years. So it's very comparable to the work program 25, which was 280. So we were told that the budget may still increase, and we can of course hope that that will be the case, because many of the topics are very, very small as it is right now. So there is a continued focus on the COPE program, the space partnership that Christian also mentioned, the globally competitive space system. But they will have open calls, open for eligible member states. Then there is continued focus on the ISOS pilot mission. ISOS is cleaning up in space. It's a very, very small budget, but this one may increase as well. We still also have an open call on the quantum space gravimetry mission, but it has now been opened up for 2 parallel projects. Something new in Space Work Program 26-27 is the IRIS² program on secure connectivity. It will be managed by ESA and the new SpaceRISE consortium for 270 million euro. And ESA and SpaceRISE will launch calls for industry on their platforms. Then there is also the electronic components, so all critical technologies. It's open calls for eligible member states. Then a small budget, as I mentioned, to the Space Act. This one may increase. And then something new is support to spaceports. It's open calls, spaceports on EU grounds. And it's a call matching the European Space Agency call for European Launcher Challenge. So spaceports is just the port, and ESA is so taking care of the launcher part as it is right now. So USPA, also active in the space area, will only issue one minor call in 26. Whereas ESA will be responsible for 340 million euro in total, and will launch calls on ESA Star, as I mentioned. And then we have HADEA, who will manage the European Commission calls, so the open calls, the other open calls. And then we have this Article 22.5 that will apply to most calls. Most calls are limited to EU 27, Norway and Iceland, and calls for 25 million euro are also open to the UK, Switzerland, New Zealand, and Canada. And only 2 calls are totally open. Here you can see like an overview. I'm not going to go through it, of course, but you can find it in the slides that will be distributed afterwards. So the 26 calls will be opened on the 10th of March with the deadline on the 2nd of September. And here you can see the calls marked with a yellow asterisk that is restricted to EU 27, Norway and Iceland. For 27, we have a slightly smaller number of calls. With the calls are opening on the 2nd of March and has a deadline on the 2nd of September. And here you can see again the calls restricted to EU27, Norway, and Iceland. And this is all, of course, because, as I mentioned, we're talking European autonomy and resilience, so not open to others. Here is the small call from USBA on Copernicus. This is also one that we imagine, or that we hope to see increased. Then there is the other actions, as I mentioned. The Cassini initiative will continue. The EU SST partnership will continue, also with a budget, and it's open to participants. Denmark is a participant, so it will also be open to Denmark or Danish stakeholders. Then here you can see the budget of the other actions that are managed by ESA, to a total of 340 million euro, whereas most of it is to IRIS². And if you're looking for partners, here is a slide. You can register on the QR code, and you can watch a video to see how you team up with other partners. Right, that was it for the space part. Now I would like to hand over to Peter Gorm Larsen, professor at Aarhus University. And Peter, I have your slides, so please let me know when to change it.
Okay, so I can't take charts of the slides?
No.
No, okay, that's fine. Yeah, so my name is Peter Gorm Larsen. I'm a professor at Aarhus University, and I've had some experience with EU projects in the past. If you change the next slide, please. So I have an unusual profile being a professor, because I've spent 17 years in industry before now spending 20 years back in academia. So I've been working with many different areas, but in particular on the digital side, ranging from defense to healthcare and agriculture, where it needs to work. If you change to the next slide, please. So this is an overview of the different EU projects I've had over the years. There's more than 30 projects. The ones that are bold-faced are the ones that I have been the coordinator of. And that gives you some experience in how to run these things. Next slide, please. Now we have them one by one. So what's important if you want to make a proposal to Horizon Europe is to try to understand what matters for your collaborators and consider long-term collaboration. Essentially, you need to kind of find out how you can assist also their journeys and support your own research. So thinking win-win is really important. And then it's a matter of trying to determine what's the best funding instrument to get support for the common ideas you may have with some of collaborators. And you have to write a very strong proposal and hope that it gets funded. If it's funded, then you need to make sure that you and your collaborators deliver results, because then you have better chances in the future as well. But try to ensure that your collaborators also get at least part of what they're after. So after completion of the project, you can potentially discuss continuation possibilities with the partners that have performed well. And if others like your work ethics, you're likely to be invited for new applications. So I get invitations for applications every month, and I have to turn many of them down or pass them on to others as well. Next slide, please. So when you want to go from an idea to an application, you have to understand the focus of the particular call that you're going for. That's what you just saw Christian present some overviews of. This is Horizon Europe have pillar 2, which are the ones where industrial collaboration is in question. And then what I typically do is I try to create a one-page about the vision I have, try to establish a strong consortium, both known partners and new ones, typically 80-20, but you have to deliver a significant amount of time for the proposal, because otherwise chances are really slim for you to get it, and then it's just a waste of time. but it makes sense to try to make strong, measurable objectives and results, and then use KPIs for the different objectives. Take a few more lines, please. Where in order to kind of make use of your space in the best possible way, try to do efficient comparison of related projects, what we call state of the art, and demonstrate how you move from results to the expected impact. Next one, please. So now, how can you then show how you will commercially or socially exploit the results after you're finished? And one of the tricks I have used is to try to include the users in what I call an industrial follower group. The things that are in the green box there, I'll try to give you examples of from some of my earlier applications to kind of say, well, that's a way to do it. It's by no means the only way to do so, but it's just to give inspiration. Take the next one, please. So using KPIs, you can see that I have done that here, where I have different KPIs. There are different objective numbers, and there are different indicators that will progress over the different years, and it will be reported in different deliverables. So that's one way to kind of make sure you think about how are you going to move and progress these different things over the years. Next one, please. So when you want to try to compare to state of the art, one of the things I like to do is using this kind of spider web diagram, where I, along the axes around, have the key areas we would like to make a progress in. And then we have other projects that are being compared to it on these axes. However, you have to be very much aware that the people who are reviewing your proposal, they could easily be involved in some of these projects. So they may think that you are unfair or whatever, but they can also maybe see that there's a lot of information captured in a little space, and space matters because there's a limit to how large you can make your proposals. Next one, please. So in order to demonstrate how you move from the results is what you see on the left-hand side in the colored boxes, and to impact, the kind of impacts that the Commission would like to see. This is always present in these calls, and some of those you may actually affect by means of communication, dissemination, exploitation of the different assets to different stakeholders, such that you achieve the expected impact. Next one, please. So how to kind of commercialize or use these things afterwards is something where you kind of have a mix of open source things, partly closed source or fully closed source things, where you can kind of indicate what's the result, who would you exploit it to, where is it going to be, how is it going to be taking place. Next one, please. So this is an example of an industrial follower group, organizations that was following the work we were doing in one of these projects, in order to kind of say, well, we're spreading the word specifically to a number of stakeholders that could have an interest in this. So finally, I have one slide on how to run an EU project efficiently. I always try to create a wiki that is project specific, so everybody can change things themselves easily without having a secretary who needs to do things. And it also means that when we have meetings, the minutes of the meetings can actually be pre-filled before the actual meeting takes place asynchronously. And then it's very important to have all documents, in particular the deliverables, under version control, so you don't mess up with these things in different ways and forms. And then it's also a good idea to try to maintain and monitor the requirements you have for the project as a whole, such that you can actually demonstrate how you're progressing towards the end goal for these. And then ensure the possibilities for coordination is present when you have plenary meetings. So I typically have half the time spent on one person talking like now, and half the time for bilateral meetings for the different stakeholders so they can meet with the people they need to coordinate with. Then it's a matter of trying to also establish a project handbook so the rules of the game is always present, in particular when new ones are joining the project. And then I try always to have internal reviews of the deliverables in order to increase quality and not have deliverables rejected. When I've been a coordinator, none of them have been rejected so far. I think that's the last one probably. It's in particular easier for new project members to catch up when you have a handbook. And then if we have publications you are publishing as well, instead of rewriting them, include them as appendices in the deliverables. That makes much more sense. So I think that's advantageous if it's possible to include resources for a project secretary, so to kind of take minutes of meetings and stuff like this. That is important if you are a coordinator. But hopefully I gave you inspiration for some of you to try European collaboration. Sorry I can't be there in person today, but I hope it gave you input, and then I'll be open to questions just like the others as well.
Thank you very much, Peter. And now I'll hand over to Matthias, who will tell you a little about how to get more information.
Yeah, thanks so much, Cecilia. Thank you, Peter. It's just always so great to hear from somebody who, of course, actually has experience applying for these calls and working with those projects. So just as a few points of information here, the European Commission is also organizing info days on the next work program. The dates for the Cluster 4 info days, you can find them on the website. The slides will be shared with you afterwards. And they are gonna be sometime mid-January, but the actual date is still to be confirmed. The Idealist will also organize some events, and there's a brokerage platform provided by them. So if you're looking for consortia to apply for the different topics, there's plenty of opportunities also offered through Idealist. So please have a look at their website. Finally, it is of course us, the Danish national contact points. So this is Christian, Cecilia, and I, who are the Cluster 4 NCPs, which you can see under the red square here. So please feel free to reach out to us. You have our email addresses here on the slide. And you can also see our other colleagues for the different clusters on the slide. There's also, of course, different opportunities on digital and on industry that are related to some of the other clusters. So please have a look at those too. Well, we have some time for questions and answers. So please do use the Q&A box to ask questions to us, maybe also even more interesting to Peter. And we do have some time to get back to you. I'm just quickly checking if any questions have already trickled in. Well, I think you need some time to write also, so please, maybe we can start with other questions if there are any, or otherwise we will just wait in silence for a second. Camilla is saying, thank you, Peter, for a very nice intro. If somebody of you would like to say something, I can also give you the permission to talk. That is also an option. Should you prefer that, please just mark it in the question and answers then. We have a question coming in, which I think is directed to Peter also. What is the ideal consortium size? And what about the follower group? I can really read it. If it needs to be big, yeah.
No, it doesn't need to be as big as that. And the consortium size depend on the size of the overall budgets that you have. At the moment, I'm leading one with 10 partners, which is 7.5 million. That's probably a nice size for something like that. If you have something down to, let's say, 3 million euros, you typically have a smaller consortium of like, say, 6 partners or something like this. And then there are way big ones as well. I try to make it such that it's fair for the different partners and they can get something out of it. And I think that's a good way to kind of rules of thumb for these. Hope that makes sense.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you so much. Somebody is also asking if you have been an evaluator on Horizon Europe projects, and like maybe any sort of perspectives you can bring to the table from that role.
Yes, I've also been an evaluator both for applications and also for running projects. I think 10 projects or so. At the moment, I'm afraid that I have to decline the invitations I'm getting for that because I'm too busy with too many projects. But it gives you a lot of value when you are an evaluator because you see inspiration for how proposals can be written. And I've seen applications that are better than I can ever write them, and that's very rewarding to try to see. And then, in case you are interested in making sure that things are fair, it's a good way to actually voice your input to such a evaluation thing. So I've done that many times.
Thanks so much, Peter. And I see also that Camilla is asking you, what is the strongest competencies from a research partner going into this for the first time?
Well, if you're coming in for the first time, I would recommend not being the coordinator. So that is the toughest part at the beginning. But you get used to how to coordinate and make sure that the entire consortium is productive. So I think the strongest competencies would be the scientific competence you'll bring from the research partner if you go into this for the first time. But make sure that you also embrace interdisciplinary needs. So don't just think about your own focus, but try to look at it holistically from a project perspective. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, that's very interesting. I can also see another question which asks about how common it is for you to take new partners in that you have not worked with before. Is there like a certain ratio that that you're sort of trying to live up to?
I try to follow an 80-20 rule. So 80% of the partners are people I know, or some people I know and trust knows. So in 2 levels out. But I have also 20% of new blood typically. At the moment, I'm trying to compose another proposal, and that's more or less that kind of order of magnitude that I'm trying to follow.
Yeah. Well, that's great and very enlightening, I believe. Yeah, I think there's no other questions here, at least in the Q&A. So yeah, in this sense, I would actually just like to extend a thank you for joining us this afternoon. And yeah, also from Cecilia and Christian, they will join here. And yeah, thanks so much from us. As you know, we are currently these days organizing these webinars here at the Danish Agency for Higher Education and Science. So there's also plenty of webinars left. After us today, there will be one from our colleagues from Cluster 5. So do feel free to check out our website, both for the webinars, but also for all other information on Horizon Europe. And then a particular thank you, of course, to Peter for joining us today. That was all of it from us, and yeah, have a good day.
Thank you.
Thank you.